All right, welcome to another episode of 35 All Grip. I'm Dan Arney, and today's guest, Thomas Richmond. How you doing?
I'm going, as they say in Michigan. Your last little clip you dropped in Puerto Rico is, "Hey, how you going?"
Yeah, a little bit of Jack inspiration in that. I got a little intro for Teaj for the people that might not know who you are.
All right, let's hear it.
So here goes. There are a few people in the downhill skateboarding scene that really prop up the rest of us, and Teaj is one of those people. He's the man behind the scenes cultivating media for NCDH, Obsidian Magazine, Comet Skateboards, Powell, and the list goes on. Not only is he nice with the camera, Teaj also holds it down in the streets and can hang with the best of them. He's a true ambassador to the scene and has given so much of his time to make the rest of us look cool. So just getting into it.
Hey, thanks. That was nice. I like the introductions. They're always like you feel like a superhero is like walking into the arena, about to like pull out some crazy, powers and shit.
Well, it's the least I can do, you know.
Appreciate you.
Wanted to kind of start off talking about your Puerto Rico trip, or I guess our Puerto Rico trip.
It was definitely our Puerto Rico trip. That was like probably the thickest squad I've done a skate trip with. I've probably done a few 10-person, two-car trips, which is kind of the money, right on the money, when you have like two maxed out cars. That's how you get shit done. But I mean, dude, there was probably like 30, 40 of us chickens at some point, and that's not including everyone else from all over the place. I mean, that was a logistical trip, but I had a blast. It was good to get a taste of warm weather and really just see, like, kind of like to start the year off, kind of see the event, energy and people getting excited to like commune and come together. I think that, like, for me was a big highlight of this trip, was just really, really getting excited for the season, for the year, seeing everybody kind of unfreeze their legs from the winter, so to speak.
No doubt. What was a highlight? What was the road that's going to keep you coming back?
Oh yeah, everyone knows it's gone through a few like name iterations, but it's the big hitter off of Rooftop that it has gone through a few different names, but you name it, Gasolina or Escalator, Stairs, whatever. That was probably one of the gnarliest roads I've skated in my life, if not top three. And I think Royce said that he had known about that road, and he skated it before, but it just got repaved. So that was kind of a mind-boggling experience to skate something that was, like, in my opinion, damn near jitterbug steep, but with fresh pavement, driveways, cars. I mean, it was quite the experience. We rolled up to the hill at the end of a rooftop session, one of our first few days skating on the island, and they dropped it at dusk. It was my turn to drive, and I don't have great vision, especially in like dusk and low light. My vision that's something I'm like need to figure out this year if I'm skating with contacts or glasses. But they dropped it at dusk, and not gonna lie, I was kind of holding my breath driving down behind the whole crew. That every turn was holy shit. The combo breaker was nuts. The banking on the left in the middle of the hill, I mean, it was like a 10-foot drop. Like, it was absolutely massive. And I'm really glad that Booby put a rundown on it and on film, because I got to get a little sneak peek of it, and it's the wildest shit I've ever seen. Like,
I'm looking forward to watching that one. Well, let's see what else we had going on this year. You dropped the Stagger NCDH vid earlier this year.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. That was actually like a really good like taste of like just like being disciplined and like putting down deadlines and still having fun. I think that like I always struggle with like deadlines sometimes, and if it's a personal project, and we definitely set out with a mission on this one, and I think we knocked out the filming in like 5 weeks, and then the editing in maybe 7 weeks. Like, it was like a 3-month project. And I think for something that caliber, I was really proud of the team. Big shout out to Skylar, Ryder always holding it down. He really came through on all the trips, had great perspective, but also shout out Cam because, I mean, it's just too easy to film him. It's like first try, most of these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, if he doesn't, he's willing to work for it. I really respect that. You know, Cam's the guy who's going to hike the hill if he has to. He's going to eat shit, get back up, do it again. So real pleasure to work with Cam and also do something a little different. Again, stoked to put out a video without a single follow run. And I think we achieved that. We kind of set out to be like, let's leave the follow car out. And we did it. So
Nailed it. Yeah. Definitely worth a rewatch. I feel like I've been watching that like every couple weeks just to keep it in my head, you know. But I wanted to bring it back a little bit, kind of get the Teajs backstory of your skateboarding, longboarding, I guess career, we'll call it. Where did it all begin for you?
Yeah, I was born in Atlanta. A lot of people don't know that about me, but was born in Atlanta and ended up moving to Brevard when I was like 9 years old. So raised in Western North Carolina and in these mountains, and this is definitely home where all my family lives and friends, of course. But growing up in Atlanta, I had a buddy, Jake. His dad was like a big surfer. And so his dad was kind of the one that was like kind of pushing skateboards in front of our face, like when we were young. I mean, I was probably like 7, almost 8 when I first like stepped on a skateboard. And that was through my buddy. And we started to go, because like obviously in Atlanta, if you're familiar with the skate scene in the 5 Points area, there's Stratosphere Skate Shop. And that was like our local shop run by Thomas Taylor, which is Grant Taylor's dad. So I grew up going to this park, McCoy in Atlanta, that I'm sure a lot of Southeast kids know about. It was just like a small little Home Depot park, like kind of like, you know, kind of like mixed up ramps and some flat bars, like nothing crazy. But it was still a good park, and that's where Grant Taylor and that Stratosphere team was kind of like really getting their reps in right down the street from Stratosphere Skate Shop. So that was kind of inspiring to me to, you know, see super proficient skaters in a park setting while I'm super young, and everyone was pretty, you know, pretty stoked on like people getting into skating. It didn't really feel like too much of a cool guys club at that point. It was such a small community in that park. But yeah, we went to demos and stuff and watched like, you know, all the Atlanta rippers. And I went to like a Powerade demo, like downtown. They blocked off this like block, had a bunch of ramps, rails and whatnot. And Thomas Taylor, Grant's dad, was there, and I'd recognized him from Stratosphere Skate Shop and blah, blah, blah. And he gave me a board and like just kind of told me to get after it. And that was kind of like the snowball for me, is like, because I really liked Grant Taylor growing up, and then like meeting his dad. We like obviously duked it out over our name, like kind of had fun about that. And he just gave me a board and he was like, you know, get after it. And so that was really cool and got me into skating. But then, you know, moved to Brevard, moved to the mountains, got out of the city. And I grew up in, you know, a small little mountain town where, you know, people, if they don't have a hobby, they get into drugs or they get into this or that, which we did our fair share of, you know. But really it was the indoor skate park that was like our like hobby, our place to like join and meet together. And it was called Zero Gravity, super sick indoor park. Like really wish it was still around. But yeah, that's kind of where I like really started to skate, transition and handrails and this, that, and another. And I didn't know about longboarding necessarily. I never tried it. So the skate park was my life. I was transition street skater. And then a sad story involves like this really corrupt, like Christian family kind of gained ownership of the park. I don't even know what cult they were trying to promote. It was some weird shit, right? They were trying to like kind of like push kids into like, you know, you get discounted rates if you come to like Bible study and shit, which is super toxic. But they slowly kind of took away the culture from the skate park. And eventually realized that they've pushed out all their customers, you know, no one's vibing with it. The rates went up, and that, you know, park eventually sold and ramps got demolished. And then all the skaters in Brevard were left empty handed. And that was a big turning point for me and skating and how I kind of perceived my relationship with skating, because I didn't, you know, we didn't have a license or a car. So, your best bet is to skate shitty street spots downtown or get a ride from someone who has a car up here to Foundation, which at the time was bare bones, you know, super infant phases, or go to Patton Park in Hendersonville. So that really fucked up like skating for me in a sense. Whereas like I was just super hung up on that park. Like that was my life. I got so good there. We all got like so proficient, and it just got like pulled out from under our feet. Like, and then that just changed everything. And that's what kind of pushed me like towards the hills. Cause like, that's what we had, you know, no more skate park.
Such a bummer. So that, like, how the hell do you get into bombing hills? Like, what was your first board? Like, what kind of pushed you into being like, that's my thing now?
Yeah, so that was like the catalyst, was like the skate park getting ripped out from under our feet. And my buddy Creston, shout out Creston, you know where you are. He definitely like got me into like longboarding and watching, you know, quote unquote downhill videos, you know, showing me We Got Them Perps, all the old loaded stuff, Otang, you know, yada, yada, yada. But he kind of like put it in my face of like, hey, this shit is sick, and we didn't really know about this. And so he was definitely a catalyst. He ended up getting a Dervish, you know, as one of his first boards. And my dad, I remember, you know, it must have been like 2010 or something, but he got online and found Daddy's board shop, got on with a rep, you know, started chatting up a rep. And he got me like a little Sector 9, some gull wings, and some in heats. And that was my first longboard.
Fire setup.
Yeah, it was pretty fire, honestly. It was honking for sure. But we quickly, you know, obviously we were still at the point where we were making our own slide gloves. We just do the same shit, cutting board and gardening gloves. But my dad came home one day from like Goodwill and was like, hey, I found these like longboard gloves. You want them? They were $5, and they were like fresh loaded like gloves. I was like, who the fuck?
Who the hell dropped those off?
I think it was like some kid at Brevard College, I would assume, because there's like guys at Brevard College that would like cruise around town on some like loaded boards. So my guess is that they ended up in Goodwill from some college kid, and Dad swooped them for me. So that was like my first set of gloves too, was like from Goodwill. They happened to be loaded.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
What kind of terrain were you tackling off the rip? Because Brevard is steep as hell.
Brevard's got some shit. Brevard's got some neighborhoods. It's got some good mountains. So yeah, we kind of like just started like, you know, obviously in the neighborhoods, you know, small dinky hills, but in the back of the neighborhood I lived in, there was a straight up wall of a hill. And like, we were so stupid. Like, we obviously were bombing it without a helmet, gloves, no helmet. I mean, going 30. Like, not even really knowing what we're doing, or probably didn't even really know how to like pendy that well, like if something were to happen. So we were doing, I just honestly can't believe like the first few years like skating without a helmet. I think it might have only lasted like a year, but that shit was so reckless, absolutely reckless. And glad we got on the helmet train pretty early. My mom, like, I just remember her like seeing me come home one day sweaty as fuck. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm skating. She's like, without a helmet? Like, she like almost cried. I'm sorry, Mom. I meant to put that disclaimer in this episode that I'm real sorry, Mom, for everything that I might say and the things that I've done, but I love you and you raised me well. And Pops, you're going to love this shit.
Yeah, it's always those humble beginnings when you're just bombing hills, like just blissfully unaware that like you could just be like done for if you smack your head going that fast. So yeah, we started in neighborhoods and whatnot and found like walls of hills, and that's like really how we learned to slide, was just find something really steep and like just turn, you know, and get a little comfortable doing that to where then you can like put it into like a little neighborhood line. We'd go find little hairpins, this, that, and another. But I mean, we were obviously infatuated with stand-ups. Like, that's all we wanted to do. Like, we had gloves and we used them, but we were just like trying to do stand-ups. And at that point, we had gotten on a Sector 9 mini shakas, me and Crescent both, with flashbacks and free rides. And that was like our summer setup for like first 2 years. We just had the shaka with the flashbacks and the free rides, and that was like it. I would just try to do massive stand-ups. And at the time, Creston was throwing like 60-foot stand-ups like within the first year of skating, like maybe
70-foot heels. He was going big. And then he tore his ACL skating by himself. Like, foot slipped off the board, tweaked the knee, popped the ACL. He's laying in the road for, I think, like 20, 30 minutes before some lady with her dog, like walking her dog, finds him. And so then, yeah, obviously that's an insane injury off the rip. And that kind of, took Creston off board. And I was kind of stuck somewhat on my lonesome in terms of like trying to push myself. There was a few other people I was skating with, but no one was really trying to like learn how to corner and, be a little more risky in the approach, because they had seen, what it can do. It's like, oh, you can crack your head open, you can tear your ACL. It's like, we're young. Like, some people are like, let's pump the brakes. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Let's keep going. But Creston eventually told me, he's like, hey, there's this brand in Boone called Local, and they're going to this race, Soldiers of Downhill. Like, there's this like news article on it or something. It was some like published, maybe in something in App State or online, but he showed me like the van they took to Soldiers with like the crew, like posted up photo. So really, like, I found out about Local through Creston. He was doing like all his research online and whatnot. So that was pretty crazy to see it like come full circle. Like, Bailey's my best friend. All these boys are my best friends. So it's like, holy shit, I found out about y'all like doing the shit down the road and I didn't even know about it. I was probably 18 at that point,
Gotcha. Were you starting to make your way towards Boone or Asheville? What did that kind of era look like?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when I was 18, like, I actually up and outed of Brevard and went to Greensboro out of all the places to pursue like, the media studies program. I was super infatuated with video, like coming out of high school, and was starting to like make like some skate, like film, videos, whatever, YouTube edits and bullshit. But I was like super set on video production and media studies, and Greensboro, quote unquote, had like the program in the state to like pursue at a public, college. So I took my shot on that, and then come to find out it was like super outdated program. All the equipment was outdated. Like, had a great time, made some great friends, but definitely felt the flatness that like got to me. But right before I went to college when I was 18, like, I had gone up to Asheville and I had like skated with Teaj and Jack and like got the bug, like got hooked. So I immediately like get this like downhill fever, and then I like go to college at like a flat city.
In the flats?
Yeah, it was like super mindfucky. And yeah, so I was in, Greensboro, and I would come home on weekends or whenever I could break, skate Asheville. At that point I wasn't like, it's crazy. Like, Elk was my first like downhill run, but coming out of like, I just remember like actually my first Elk run, like I was skating the board like with my feet like perpendicular to the rails, like a street board. And I got to the bottom of Elk. I don't know how I made it down, but Teaj was like, yo, you got to point your toes. Like, you cannot, what are you doing? Like, I was just standing like straight up, like bending my knees, like kind of like stink bug style, cruising down Elk. And like Paradise was like my second downhill road somehow or something like that. It was like very big roads for my first entry.
Just thrown into it.
I didn't even like know like any sort of form or anything. But yeah, I got the downhill bug and was stuck in Greensboro for 2 years, like just like dreaming of downhill, and started going up to Boone, really that's like in Greensboro, is like go to Boone on the weekends. So I was kind of like, kind of like on the outside of like that early downhill stuff, and Boone, where I was just visiting. I was a visitor for 2 years, and I got hooked. Obviously we started NCDH and I was still in Greensboro, and we were like making all this media that it just came to a point where I was like, I'm moving to Boone. Like, I'm going to like apply for this transfer, take out, loans and make this shit happen. It was like the only option.
I mean, seems like a no-brainer move. I mean, if you had met Bailey, I'm sure you ran into Phil Baldwin at some point too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to like remember my first intro to the local scene. It was definitely like Phil, Bailey I met first. I'd also known about like Will Seal and stuff through like Comet and whatnot. I was doing like some stuff with Comet, because really like before I even really skated downhill, I mean, before I was like proficient enough to like go out and skate random roads, like Jared Henry from Comet at the time was in Asheville at UNCA, and him and Deitch and Jack, you know, always going out skating. That's who I was really linking up with, really getting like inspired by Jared and Deitch and Jack skating. But I made a video for Comet like when I was like 18, like that first year of college. And that really opened my eyes to like, you know, just what was possible. We went to Shabalba for the video. We went to like big open roads that I obviously wasn't skating, but that kind of got me hooked. You know, I was like, I got to get out of this flat city. I don't belong here. And yeah.
You just got thrown right into it.
Yeah.
That's so rad. Yeah, man. Let's see. You know, might be a good time for a guest question, actually.
Let's hear it.
We're talking about Phil Baldwin. I got one from him right now. Here goes.
Hey, what's up, 35 All Grip? I have some questions for old Tommy Wami Teaj Baliji. First question, how's your back? Must be sore from carrying all the whole team on your back all these years. Second question is, who are your top 5 skaters that you know personally and why? Third question, what drives you to keep creating and showcasing downhill culture? Fourth question, the kids keep asking, when is my NCDH fit happening? Fifth question, what's the top thing that downhill or skating has given to you?
Bit of a 5-parter there.
Damn. Hit me with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn, Phil. Give me a break.
I think the first one was, how does it feel? How's your back feel?
Yeah, that's funny. We love to give each other shit because, you know, everyone's put in so much damn work, you know, out of the kindness of their hearts, and just, you know, being stoked that, you know, when I was younger, like I legitimately, and I, you know, still believe this, but I'm like, I will never stop doing this shit. Like, I just can't imagine a reality where I'm not involved in some way, shape, or form with skateboarding, especially in Western North Carolina with the scene we have and the friends and the family. But, you know, people do go through waves and the ebb and flow of, you know, their input and their relationship to you know, the community and the scene. And so when someone was doing more work or something than the other, they'd be like, I got the team on my back. And Phil put the team on his back. I mean, everyone did. Bailey, Madison, Suze, Eric. I mean, everyone has put everyone on their back, but that shit like hurts after a while. And so I think that's probably what Phil's like referencing. Granted, you know, like shit changes. People fucking, you know, get jobs, have families, like, yeah,
priorities change.
And like, I'm not knocking that at all. The shit mine has for sure, you know? But I just, you know, I'm definitely trying to hang around. And I don't remember the other 4 questions. We had like number 2.
I think the second one was like your top 5 favorite skaters that you've skated with. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
3 come to mind really easily. It's Oscar, David, and Eric Jensen. Definitely like my heroes. Jensen is like probably my all-time favorite skater for sure. Shout out Jensen. Absolutely love just how he mixes it up, you know, has the ability to, you know, really like approach anything, make it look smooth, make it look easy. Oscar and David, there's like a sweet spot in my heart for goofy riders, and they have this like crazy like alley-oop flick and flow. Like I swear that goofy riders are just steezier. Like when it comes to stand-ups.
I like that take.
Yeah.
Hot take. I like it.
Yeah. So I definitely love those goofy boys. Will Seal as well. I mean, got to give it to Will Seal. He has like the sickest style. Goofy rider as well. And then number 5, shit, man. I'm trying to like dig in the ether and think about that. That's a tough one.
Phil coming in hot.
Yeah, coming in hot. Number 5. Shit. Honestly, Ashley Weinkoff. Super stoked on Ashley. Seen it progress so much from day one. I think we picked her up from her dorm like when she was a freshman. And I mean, just to see that to Argentina is just like mind-boggling, just frozen. Like just watching the live stream at Maddie and Sousa's wedding, I'm just like, what the hell? So shout out Ashley. That's my 5. And I could go on. I mean, all my friends are my favorite skaters for sure, but those are a good 5 for me.
That's a great 5. I'm trying to recall what else he said in this.
Yeah, there was something else. So we had the back, we had the favorite skaters.
We had when's my video part getting filmed?
Oh, when's my video part getting filmed? Yeah, dude, that's like an ongoing joke. Like,
What's your rates? What are we looking at here?
Oh, my rates, dude. Shit. Pay my bills, give me a massage, buy me some food. Everything. But no, that's like a funny ongoing joke is like, I mean, NCDH, like as a whole, we kind of like, you know, maybe we did shoot ourselves in the foot a little because we like, you know, we kind of like put it out there that we make all these rider like video edits and spotlights and whatnot. And, you know, it came to be somewhat like expected, which is super dope and super like, almost like flattering that people are like so stoked on your work, you know, that we were all putting in on. But, you know, with the big mass migration here, then I think we kind of branded ourselves as like this free media company. And it's like, that's cool. And that's definitely part of the mission and still what I'm trying to do. But it's like, hey, like pump the brakes. Like, I'm living. I'm a human. I have a job. I have like an amazing partner and cats and shit like that. You know, I can't work for everyone all the time, but I don't really see it like that. Like, I think at the end of the day, like the ones that know, like really what we're trying to do and really the bandwidth that we have, you know, we're just fucking people too. Like we can't, but I do appreciate the stoke. So your NCDH video is coming when it comes. That's my answer to that one.
What was the last one? Was he asking, maybe I'm messing this up, like what like motivates you to keep doing it? Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about. That's a funny one that like honestly I think like the way to answer that is that like some days I'm like driving down the road and it just like dawns on me that like I could not fathom like living any other life, like out of like all the decisions I've made and the people I've like kept around. Like I could not fathom anything different. So to me, there's no like fork in the road. There's no like other kind of path to take. It's like, I'm here and this is like my life and my friends. And I mean, you know, like this shit is kind of maybe a ticking time bomb with like your fucking knees and your shoulders and your back and your fucking brain. But like I said, I'd kind of like trying to be here for a long time and, you know, be involved. Like it's just going to go through so many waves. Like we have so many prodigies like on board right now. It's unbelievable. But I don't know if there's anything that keeps me going because it sure as fuck ain't money. I don't really know, dude. I mean, I think like laughing with friends, like fucking chopping it up and having a good time and joking is what keeps me going. Like, dude, I laugh so fucking much in downhill. Like that's my shit.
No, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I almost feel like this downhill lifestyle is kind of like some gang shit. It's like if you're you do it for long enough, it's like you can't leave.
Dude, it could be like some sort of weird like cult like documentary where it's like my life in downhill like never escaped. Like
I can't get out.
I mean, it feels kind of good. I mean, like you go back to JP's quote of, you know, we now go to university, we now go to college, we don't have jobs, we're wasting our lives away, and it feels so good. It's like I think about that every fucking day. Like I'm wasting my life, and it feels so good every day.
That was a follow-up question of mine. I was gonna ask you, has downhill ruined your life, or do you think it's saved it?
How about you beer me, and I'll answer that one.
I'll beer you right now.
Has downhill ruined my life or saved it? Damn, we're getting deep and dark in the depths of downhill.
Let me get you in the
downhill
jacuzzi
existentialism
setup
right now. I don't know, man. I think like at the end of the day, like it gave me purpose. So like maybe both, you know, like I think it's a double-edged sword. And I think that's what I'm so drawn to is like, this is a great outlet for me, like artistically, emotionally and whatnot to express myself. But it's kind of also a great outlet to kind of just like let it loose. Like the self-destructive shit is definitely there. And like, it does feel good to have like a great outlet. You know what I'm saying?
Who doesn't like being a little self-destructive every once in a while?
Yeah, dude, it feels good. So it feels good to be like self-destructive when you need to and know that your friends will pick you up and you do the same for them, you know? Like, I love like fucking my life up, but also like piecing it back together. Like, and it's kind of that ongoing cycle and downhill. And I think that's what keeps us around is we're just like, wow, dude, it's just like shape shifting constantly, but still doing the same shit.
Well, it's so cool. Like we go to Puerto Rico and it's going on vacation with 30 of your friends and you're just kind of taking over an island. And I feel like a lot of people don't get to experience that connection with friends and just seeing new places and just a camaraderie. It's like being on the hill and it's like, this is our beer, our water. Just everyone's kind of picking each other up where they need to be picked up. And
Oh yeah. I mean, camaraderie is like the word. You know, I feel that a lot. It's like that trip was so good because it's like you're just living in the crust, you know, you're throwing on the same clothes and shit. Like, you know, it's like what's mine is yours. And it's always been that way. But that shit feels really good, man, to really just like kind of like separate yourself from your ego. You're on a trip. You're all on a pack mentality. I think that's like kind of like what's so special about those trips and kind of like gives you that afterglow, you know, like that shit carries you. You do a nice trip and you're like, all right, I got out a little bit of my animalistic like tendencies and you kind of like just kind of glow off of that for a while. But yeah, absolutely. I love like picking each other up, you know, because we all be down bad sometimes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pick each other up when you fall down, and you know, it's very special what we have going on. It is pretty funny, especially skate events. It's like you kind of turn on the kind of being a shithead for a weekend, and then you kind of come back to reality, and you're like, what happened?
Absolutely. And I tell people I like work too damn hard to not like fucking turn on the shithead mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got enough like structure and routine in my life. Like, it's nice to like just tornado through that shit with like bad decisions.
Feels good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels good. I kind of wanted to touch on also, you have a knack for influencing everyone to kind of, I guess we call them teajisms.
Teajisms.
You kind of bring up a phrase or something of that nature that everyone kind of sticks with. And I got a few teajisms. Let me know if
All right, let's hear it.
I'm just going to run through them. At one point, it was I go hard. That one was pretty popular.
Hell yeah, I go hard. I remember those days.
There was I fuck with y'all.
I fuck with y'all, yeah, for sure.
Last night was a movie, even though maybe it wasn't.
Last night was Raw. I think that was it.
Oh, yeah, last night was Raw, yeah.
That one's here to stay because last night was Raw. Like, we really live it like that. But I don't know. I thought about this shit when we were chatting about this the other day, like the teajisms, and it's like, if I had to like actually do some digging and be like, why is it that I like turn into a broken record and like have these kind of like tendencies to like hook onto something? I mean, who knows what that really stems from? But if I had to guess, it's like I said it earlier, like I love to fucking laugh. That is my medicine. I think laughing is some of the best medicine ever. And honestly, not to get too dark, but it's like I think it's just me like kind of coping with the depression. It's like I'm just gonna say shit, do shit to try to get a laugh, make, you know, see that like fire in somebody's eye, you know, like when you make someone laugh like genuinely, or they make you laugh, like you just see it in their eyes. And I'm just like, man, that's like my buffer from depression. Like, just fucking keep laughing and you'll be good, you know? Like, if I'm sad, I'm like, I need to laugh. And like,
well, it's like a positive affirmation in a way, too. Like, hey, I fuck with y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I fuck with y'all.
Yeah, and it's like also like delivery and context is like what fucking gets people going, you know? Like, that's really like the name of the game. And I don't know, I kind of survive off of like sarcasm and like kind of like just off the wall shit. So I don't know where that comes from. Maybe I should like see a psychiatrist and be like, why do I go so hard? I don't know, man.
What are we on now? The shh.
Oh yeah, everyone's getting shushed.
It's not even a phrase.
It's not even a phrase. Yeah, it's like it started as like an emoji, and now everyone's like embodied it. It's like shh, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I want to do that to a cop. Just fuck you.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be there for you.
Yeah.
You know. Some other things I wanted to get into, just some random tidbits. You're a bit of a sauna guy. What's your What's your sauna schedule looking like right now? You been putting it back in there?
Putting it back, man. Yeah, I'm definitely got hooked on the sauna when I was younger. I don't even know how or why. It was in like Greensboro when I was like going to the gym and stretching a lot, and really honestly came out of soccer. Like definitely love soccer, and like I don't know, when I just like heard of the recovery benefits, you know, I was running like 10 miles a day. I was like, dude, the sauna, like hot cold therapy, that's like the way to go. I mean, it goes hand in hand with skating, but yeah, it's definitely like so funny, like how infatuated I am with it. And then people are like, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm like, it's actually just so good for you. Like, give it a shot.
How many hours you putting down a week in the sweatbox?
I mean, if I'm on like a good week, I like sit in the sauna like 4, sometimes 5 times a week. So, you know, you're putting in some time. You only do like 20 minutes, you know, cold shower. But recently did some work for the local actual bathhouse called Sauna House in Asheville, and got a good bit of credits to go there. So kind of been lapping that. Gonna do more of that. It's just so good for recovery and sleep. Dude, shit'll put you out, put you to sleep. So if you're not big on saunas, get big on them because they're awesome. Just go sweat it out. You will feel better. You'll feel a nice dopamine rush, and you'll sleep like a baby too.
What's your pick? Are you a Zyn guy or a cig guy? Let's talk about
nicotine.
Let's talk about darts.
Here we are. We're in the nicotine conversation. My mom doesn't think I'm either. But Mom, I've been smoking cigs for like 6 months. I don't know why, but
How many cigs do you think you can smoke in an hour?
oh, dude, I'm like over the course of a night kind of guy. Like I'll put down like 10 cigarettes over the course of a night, and then just like wake up with a dumpster in my mouth.
How much spitting are we talking? What's your spit ratio? How many times you spit per cig?
I do spit a lot when I smoke. Spit on it. Spit on it for real. But I think that is like, maybe that comes from like, I grew up playing baseball. Like that was my shit until I was like 8 years old. Like I was just obsessed with baseball, and you know, just standing on second base, spitting sunflower seeds, spitting a ton. Like I'm definitely a chronic spitter, like for sure. I'd be spitting for sure. And that might come from baseball. I don't know. I just love to spit. I love sunflower seeds too, man. I love that like oral fixation. That maybe that's why I love cigarettes and smoking. Doesn't make me feel good, but I love it. I love smoking. So
I just wanted to touch on that, you know, but
it's good to talk about, but don't get into cigarettes.
Don't do it.
And put the vapes down. That was like the worst. I'm glad that you put the vape down.
Oh, I've been off vapes and cigs for a while now.
Yeah.
Never really was a smoker to begin with, but
yeah, to each its own. Like I like love when Carrie just tells me like, I've never tried a cigarette. I'm like, keep it that way. Like you're not missing shit, you know? And to the fucking prodigies that are coming up in this downhill shit, like just don't even get into the alcohol and the cigarettes, you know, just like chill, just skate. It's better.
it is. They kind of go hand in hand though.
Yeah, they do.
The partying and the skating, it turns into
devil's advocate.
It turns into a habit, especially when you're at a skate event. But.
Fuck yeah, dude! You have all that adrenaline racing through you.
Oh yeah, you need to like calm your nerves.
I'm like, give me a cigarette and a cold beer. That's great, man. I love that shit. But please don't get into it. If you're 18, 19 skating downhill, just skate downhill. Don't get into partying too hard. Like you will thank yourself later.
Yeah, let your organs kind of develop and get a break. You know, maybe get into it in your late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. Wait till you're washed up to destroy
wait
yourself.
till you're
more.
washed. It doesn't matter.
What do you think like constitutes like being washed up?
Ooh, washed up? Ooh, hot take.
Is that a mindset? Is that like an active, you know, skating kind of like showing up? Like what is that?
I think washed up for downhill, I think it's when you've just completely given up. I think when you're no longer willing to, because I feel like you can skate for a long time.
For sure, yeah.
Really, maybe when you're no longer getting your reps in, because, I mean, for me, I've backed off the gas. But maybe some would say I'm washed up. Who knows? But I still got it. I think if you no longer can dust it off,
Yeah, that's a good perspective. If you can't dust it off,
then you might.
people want me to be washed up so bad. Like that is some people's dream, is that like I'm washed up by 30, and it's just like, gotcha, not happening.
Well, I mean, priorities change too, and you know, some people can skate 7 days a week. Some can only skate 3-4 times a month, depending on your schedule, depending on your
100%.
life. So
100%, yeah.
But I think if you're still out getting it in any way, like I always put the perspective of like, man, I only skated elk like 7 times this week, but I'm like, that's still more laps than a lot of people that live other places.
Yeah, no, we're definitely like super spoiled here for sure. We have like everything at our disposal, and you can go out and get like 3 runs on the best road in the world that, you know, some people would drive 3 hours to do once a week. You know, like we definitely, it is obtainable here to be active, you know, like that's all right in your backyard. So I don't know, I feel myself like kind of bummed sometimes too when I don't get my reps in, but you know, today's the day. We got an hour more of sunlight, so I think that this is kind of the turning point for myself and a lot of other people coming out of winter, and I'm really stoked on that because now I can get off work and fucking skate for 3 hours.
I'm looking forward to that so much. Like once I get a little healed up and get back on the board, you know, I'll be feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Shake the dust off and get at it.
Who do you think's the biggest liability in NC right now? It could be on roads or like at the bar or just like,
oh fuck, dude.
you know,
Man, I could totally name drop, make some more enemies.
who's a liability?
Dude, I honestly think the liability is listening to this right now and sweating. That's who it is. They know who they are. That is my answer. You know who you are. You're a liability. But nah, we've seen some fucking characters for sure, man. And I feel like over the years, people have like matured up a little in a sense where it's like, we're all some shitheads, but like, don't blow it for the rest of us. Like, come on. Don't ruin this session right now because you're chopping a blind left with like 6 cars and like going under the bumper for no absolute reason. It's like, just save that shit.
I feel like everyone's just becomes a liability to the session or like going out at some point and without the intentions. Like maybe you're just feeling some type of way and you do something sketchy, dude. And 1 minute you're pointing your finger at someone else and then you do something and you're like, it's fine.
Oh, I've seen that. That's like so classic. Like someone, you know, blows up on someone for an honest mistake, you know, like shit is, you know, people have honest mistakes. We you know, we make mistakes and then the next run they're like blowing lane. It's like, I think it is important to like hold people accountable and really look out for your friends, but it's also like, you gotta be like realistic. People are humans and people make mistakes, and really you got to build people up. But like, I think that what we deal with is like when you see that like repetitive bad decision making on open roads in neighborhoods, it's like, that's when you draw the line. Like, you're going to fuck up. I fuck up. We all fuck up. But if that becomes like your MO, like, I don't really want shit to do with you. Like, I can't be around that energy, dude. I'm down to fuck up, but like, I'm also not trying to make that like the baseline. So if that's your baseline, like, you're the liability.
I like that. What are your thoughts on follow car filming these days? You're, you know, top G filmer in town. What are your thoughts on follow runs these days? What's your stance?
I mean, it's obviously a super easy yet dangerous way to document someone on a long run, showcase their style, and, you know, I mean, it's really just driving is like what you need to be mindful about is like, but my take on it is we really, and I'm preaching in the choir. I need to do this myself, but we really have to get our raw audio down. Raw runs are amazing when you have great raw audio. Like that is half of the equation. And I think like I struggle with that majorly in filmmaking. Has progressed a lot over the years, but audio is so much a part of the equation that we're just leaving out. So, you know, put that Zoom H4n on the car, put a dead cat on it, sync up the audio and post. Like it just, you lose so much depth and feeling of a run when you can't hear the pucks, what they're saying, all the little tidbits. It's like that soundscape is everything. So I'm really talking to myself in that sense when I do follow runs. Is like, if I'm gonna do a follow run, need to make sure that it has all the dynamic aspects, right? Like a great dynamic range, great exposure, but also phenomenal audio. And so I think without that, like raw runs without super fire, like raw audio, you're kind of just like looking at a wall. You're not like submersed in it. And I think people have gotten so sick of that, so sick of just looking at a wall, you know, like it's just, it lacks dimension. But I mean, you've seen like my work, like I've put out like, I don't know, 50 videos without a single raw run in it. Like I don't rely on it. I respect it. And I would like to film more raw runs and kind of toy with like my approach and my rig. But like, I don't need a follow car for anything other than like getting up the fucking hill. So we can go film a video with a beater. We don't need a follow run. Like I prefer not to have a follow run.
I mean, raw runs will always have their place. It's a great way to show speed. And I agree with the audio thing. It's the wind noise for me. It's just a turnoff. It's such a turnoff. I think it is to anyone that
if it's just
watching.
Wind, like I want to hear pucks. I want to hear them talk. I want to hear every detail.
Like wheels, when you're going fast, especially, it makes a crazy noise. Like,
100%.
So maybe we got to get. I think we were talking about it, like putting like a lav mic,
the wireless lav under the board,
like behind the base plate or something.
We haven't
tried it yet.
We have some R&D to do for sure. We definitely have some shit we got to try out. But yeah, man, that's like my take on raw runs. Like, just do good fucking audio with it. External raw audio, and like start putting out good raw runs, like with just raw audio, no music, one cut. Let's fucking see them. People have done them well. Keep it up.
I got another film and take for you. So like in, like street skateboarding, if a spot gets filmed or someone does like a certain trick, it's kind of maybe frowned upon to go to that same spot and kind of hit the same deal. How do you feel about it with downhill? Do you think kind of filming the same spot if someone has already laid it down? Is there is there some boundaries to we should be setting, or what do you think is the status?
That is a tough one. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's so good just to see everyone's approach on a road. So I'm like, man, I'm willing to watch different runs on the same road of different riders, because that's the best part of downhill is everyone's style. You can go to a road and see people approach it 8 different ways, and I love. I mean, I think it does come to a point though. It depends like how hard you're trying to flex, because if there's like a combo breaker and Booby like bodies it, it's like maybe just don't worry about it. Like it's in a bag. But I mean, to each its own. Like I think like at the end of the day, like people mix up. Like it's a tough one with like social media and all these things where like it's so easy to boost your ego. But like at the end of the day, man, some people just want to film to see themselves skate. Like, and that's such a great tool. And I stand by that because it helps me too. It's like, just because you're filming something, maybe someone's filmed it before, or just because you're filming and posted something, it's like, you know, you're not like trying to be big dog sponsored fucking egotistical maniac. You just want to see yourself skate. Like, and that's awesome. And I value that. So it's like hard to knock it, man. Like seeing yourself on like film is great. It feels good. You know, it's not we're never going to be the gnarliest skaters. We never have been, but it's cool. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. You learn something from it. You're like, oh, I flicked a little late there. I slid a little early there. It's like, that's good. That's good shit. That helps you skate safer and more dialed. So definitely keep filming. I don't think we should be gatekeeping spots, but I mean, you can also like tip your hat when like someone's bodied a road. Like, you know, like don't be trying to like,
no doubt.
Don't be trying to like step to that. But if that's not your intention, then just enjoy it, you know, like film it, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Some roads though, like sometimes I'm like, man, if someone lays it down on a road, it's kind of like maybe you might want to just let like the dust settle before you try.
You're talking about like how hot it is. Like, yeah, dude, if you're going to like lap up some crazy neighborhood on a follow film, like just don't go back the next day. Like let it chill for a sec.
Yeah. It might be good to just, maybe just, I don't know, go somewhere else.
And we're like literally the culprits of that though. I'm like giving advice, but it's like, I do that shit all the time. It's like, let's go blow this shit up again.
Well, a lot of times too, just in the Asheville bubble alone, sometimes you'll show up to spots and there's different crews out and you don't even really know if someone's been in a spot that day already. Like you might see some Thane lines and you're like, hold up.
Absolutely.
You might be running into like the block is hot scenario and you don't even realize it.
Dude, that's like where the community's gotten here is like we had these growing pains and it was like insufferable for a period of a few months during the like mass migration where it was like everyone felt like they needed to do everything together. We need one big session. If you're not hitting me up for the session, then it's fucking personal. And that obviously took its course and like kind of like the dust settled on that. And that's what we have now is we have a bunch of different, you know, microcosms of crews and agendas. And that's how it should be with this many people. You got to go do your own thing. Go get in a car, go knock it out. But to your point, it's like you'll roll up to a hill and you're like, oh shit, this might have been like skated hot like an hour ago. Because we don't know. We're not all talking about who's doing what. And that's a reality. Aside from like pissing people off and like catching a charge, which fucking knock on wood, that shit ain't happening. People getting out clean. But really what people just really need to be mindful of is with that noted, you know, gated neighborhoods, this, that, and another, like it's a gated neighborhood, it's undeveloped, but like you could still be dropping it hot. That don't mean that it's clear and no one's at the bottom. Your own friends could be driving up the road. So I've actually heard of some close calls recently on that note. And I'm like, y'all got to be real mindful. Like that kind of like is rattling to hear when it's like, oh, we dropped and there was a car in already. It's driving up. It's like, come on, take the 5 minutes and check the road. Like, so.
Yeah, do whatever you need to do to be safe. I do like what you said earlier about, you know, the squads were huge. And I think it's healthy to branch off and do your own thing. Have a single car where you're going to go on a mission and get it in. And, you know, it's nothing personal. Like, I feel like I used to get FOMO many years ago, and that's, dissipated because, no one likes to see their friends, like, blowing up Insta story, and you're like, oh my God, I wanted to skate today, and like at so-and-so road. But
for sure,
I think we're at the point now where it's like, we can't, if we all show up to the same road, it's basically an event.
No, literally, it's a 40-person outlaw. And we do have those, and that's great. And I love that. But yeah, it's definitely like for the sake and safety of everyone, like feel free to split off. Like you get 4 or 5 cars deep. It just becomes logistics. It just becomes people slinging across the road, cars getting lost. That shit ain't fun for anyone. Like super down to skate with a lot of people, but like also like there's a time and a place. That's why I miss fucking Turkey, dude. That was the spot. We roll up 20 cars deep, hang out, have our little event, all skate together, and we move on. It's like, that's where that is for. But that's actually where I met you.
Yeah, I met you at Turkey.
Yeah, we met at Turkey in the Hotbox U-Haul event. That was fucking awesome.
All right, I got some Patreon questions to go through. Shout out to all the Patreon members out there supporting 35 All Grip. You know, really appreciate the support. And if you're interested, it's a subscription service. You can ask questions on future episodes. You'll get some exclusive content, but it's just a great way to support the podcast if you want to do that. So got a few here to run by you. First one I have is from Madison Crum.
Here we go.
He writes, you were a street skater who transitioned to downhill. Did you like it because it was easier?
Damn. Yeah, that's a good one. Wow. Where do I start with that? I don't know. I think like I was eating shit so much street skating and transition that like I had like permanent swell bows, and that shit kind of got to me. There was a time where like my elbows were swollen like 10 months out of the year. And that was like the main injury that I was dealing with, like street skating. And I was like, oh, it can't get worse than this. But then you enter the era of road rash and you're like, it gets so much worse. Like, so I don't know if it's easier. I definitely like did not know shit about my gear for so long that I was falling every time I skated downhill. And so started pulling my shoulder out when I was 19. Like my first fucking time was skating Strauss Park, Stratosphere, as the kids call it, in Brevard. That's where I learned how to slide. And it's like a big, steep neighborhood. Pretty good pavement.
Gnarly road.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. It's got some good shit on it. But I was filming with a buddy. It was like one of my first videos I filmed back in the day. He brought out like the crane and the Canon 7D, 5D Mark II. And my buddy Dan, who was like, he's like moved on into like Comic-Con filming and real estate and all the stuff, but he was a good filmer and skater as well. And he was filming me. I'm going down Strauss Park and I go to throw a slide. I mean, I'm definitely going 35. Like I'm cooking down that middle section into like the big, like kind of manhole covered left kink. And I put my glove down and my hoodie is over my puck. And I put that fucking hand down and my arm just sticks and goes back in time.
Oh my God, you played yourself.
Ripped my whole shit out. And that was the first time. And like since then, it got progressively worse for 5 years. Like I'm super shoulder gang.
So what do you think the consensus is? What's easier, do you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, like downhill is a lot of work. It's a lot of core work and a lot of your legs. But I mean, you're fucking just going back up in a car, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. Easy isn't a good word, Madison. It's so different that it's hard to put it on that. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like got into downhill and kind of left street skating, like kind of on the bay side for a while. Like I still skate a little here and there, but it's like, I'm not infatuated with it like I was, especially when I grew up at that indoor park that was just phenomenal, you know? Like I hate skating a shitty like street park. Like that's the worst. I'd like rather stay home.
Maddie got another question for you too. He wanted to ask, what's the biggest difference you see in the downhill community versus the larger standard skate scene? Personality or anything like that come to mind?
Yeah. Shit, man. And that's a little hard for me to say because like I, wasn't deep in the street scene into my adulthood. Like I don't have like experience being in that community, like as a quote unquote adult. Like I was super in it deep, but I was like 15, 16. So, I mean, I guess like the obvious thing for me is just kind of like the commune, the camaraderie, like really like in downhill, what I think is like very unique and what I enjoy a lot is like, you're like out in the field, you're out camping, you're out like washing your ass with a hose. And like on street skate trips, like the few I've been on is like, you might post up in a hotel or like something, but you're not out camping in the field, like that's
like a urban versus
for
being
sure.
out in the sticks kind of.
For sure. And I like that a lot. I love the places downhill takes you. I mean, I think everyone can resonate with that. But that's like a big thing for me is like really like cooking together, setting up camp in the mountains, exploring. Like that's that kind of like desire to that curiosity to like continue exploring is like something super unique for me. I mean, granted you have that street skating going to find spots in the city, but you're not like, oh, what's on the other side of that ridge line,
Yeah, never stop exploring. Shout out North Face.
Oh, hell yeah. There we go. Give us some money.
Give us some money. Also have one from Jack Trainer.
Oh, shit.
Asks, what's your favorite project you've worked on? And also, who's the fastest skater on the East Coast?
Oh, shit. He's pulling my leg here. I've never heard that one before. Favorite project, man. I think over the years, I'm going to have to go with Shine Run. That's just such a unique project, trip, experience, kind of bonding trip. And for those who don't know about Shine Run, it started with local apparel. I think the first Shine Run was 2012 or 2013. I kind of want to say 2013 because I think my first Shine Run that I went on was... my first Shine Run was 2015, so I think the first Shine Run was actually 2013, and then they did another year, and then I came in. But essentially, it was like kind of like a King of the Road style trip where, you go out on a skate trip. It was always on spring break for the college kids. Everyone was in college in Boone. So it's like you go on spring break, go find a fuck ton of hills, document them, camp, have a good time. But at the time, come I think 2015 we did like Virginia and shit, Velzyland, as Madison dubs it. I'm thinking that's a surf reference from what I recall.
Yeah, pretty sure it's a surf reference.
But then come 2016, Madison was super deep in, the East Tennessee, Flexington era that had been relatively untouched and undocumented. I mean, shout out Isaac Cogdill. A lot of the stuff that we thought we found, that Matty thought he found, Isaac was like, oh yeah, I know about that. But to go out there with a crew and to really lay it down and like put in the work on like quote unquote new roads for us, and to feel like we were on like kind of the forefront of that discovery, that was like so exciting. Like I always go back to that 2015 to 2018 era. I mean, really 2014 to 2017, that chunk of 3 years, the fucking stoke was so high. Like we knew we were doing something different and new.
Yeah, everything wasn't as discovered. I mean, there's still things out there that we haven't found yet, but everything at this point's been pretty picked through.
Absolutely. It's no secret for sure.
Especially that East Tennessee, like Shine Run 2017 was only in East Tennessee, and I feel like we picked that whole area apart.
Oh my gosh. And like what's crazy about that is like we picked it apart and we filmed it and we did all this shit that at the time we thought was gnarly. But then you fast forward to now and you see other people's approaches on these roads that we found, and it is just mind-boggling. It's like, oh, wait, what? You just stood up that corner or you gripped that chicane? Like, we did 3 slides. Like, what the fuck are you guys on?
Yeah, the progression is out of control, especially Milk Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Out there, Team Milk. Oh, my gosh.
Those boys, something in the water. But to answer Jack's question, fastest skater on the East Coast, I know what you're digging at, so I'm going to give it to you, Jack. But at the same time, you're the fastest skater on the East Coast. You're the least improved. So take with that what you will. But those are 2 accolades that might be butting heads while you go to sleep thinking about that.
Great
I
take.
love you, Jack.
Great take. I got another guest question, too.
All right.
Probably a good time to get into it.
Let's hear it.
This one is from Madeline. Here goes.
This is Madeline, Thomas's bestie, I'm going to call it. And I want Thomas to tell me about the day we all went to Grag Prong to celebrate my birthday. And on the way back, he and the boys wanted to stop and do a quick skate run before we came home and drank special drinkies and had our little lovely birthday dinner. And how that went and how the rest of that day went and all of the joy and closeness that it brought us. I think my second question, I'd want to know, Thomas and I talk a lot of shit about everyone in the skate scene with love. And I want to know if Thomas had a word of advice for the puds in the skate scene. What would it be? For my last question, I think, and this is probably the most real and sincere thing I'd love for Thomas to talk about, is Thomas has been such an integral part of NCDH and the skate community as a whole, and the passion and the art and the blood, sweat, and tears that he brings to the community is really, really beautiful. And I'd love to hear about what lights his fire, what motivates his passion, what creates that dedication that he has to the scene. Kind of just what makes Tommy, our Tommy Wammy Thomas, what makes him who he is, because what he brings is really beautiful.
Great.
Bit of a 3-parter there.
All right, we got a 3-parter, not a 5-parter. I think I can do that.
Yeah.
So I guess to go off the first rip, yeah, that was definitely something I figured would be brought up, was that it had to be 2018. I think it was my last semester at App State. You know, we're out at Grag Prong, which is this super fucking sick swimming hole in Linville Gorge. If you haven't been, you should go. It's not called Grag Prong, so you're not going to find it off that, but just hit up one of us. It's super sick. Great swimming, sick rock jump, and just a great place to hang out. But went out there with a squad for Madeline's birthday. And this was I want to say late summer, or maybe, it might, I think it might've been October. It was actually it was cold, in the water. And I think we went out there with a good crew. It was like me, Garrett Gurley, Madeline, a few others. Phil was there. I don't know. Were you there? I don't think you were.
I was not.
Ashley was there. Long story short, we're putting beers back at the river as one does. And me and Garrett are like, cool, man, we're going to drive like 221 Grandfather Mountain back. Like, let's just fucking get a little rip in, it's like the all grip highway 221. And, our dumbasses was like, yeah, we can dry off. We can just wear no shirt, our bathing suit. We'll catch some air and dry off a little and just have like a nice little run. And I'd skated this road before, right? So I was like, oh, it's all grip. I'm a little buzzed. This is fine, right? Well, we drop into this fucking road. It's just me and Garrett. Phil's in his Subaru behind me following. And it's like golden hour. So like, the sun's peeking out still and kind of at an angle where it's like, it's a little dangerous. You come around a corner and it's like right in your fucking eyes. So me and Garrett going into this like sweeping right. I mean, you're cruising. You're not hauling, but you're going almost 40. It's enough speed to
it's a highway run. It's a full on downhill run.
It's a highway run, so you're cruising. You're not going 50 or 60 or nothing like that, but you're going enough speed to like, don't fuck up. And there's no slides, so I'm like, we can't fuck up. We're just chilling. And we come around this fucking right sweeper, and the sun is in my eyes. And I kind of get a glimpse of like a fucking like shadow or a dark patch. Like it just kind of rattled me for a second. And as soon as the sun like kind of crested out of my like viewpoint, I fucking see like a 15-foot patch of the road gone. Like just gone only in the right lane with gravel. It's like they had, I don't know what the fuck, but they had dug that road up. No signage, mind you. There was no fucking warning signs. There was no like construction nearby or this, that, and another. And, my instinct initially, well, first my like fucking heart dropped in my stomach. I'm like, oh no, here we go. And my instinct, as anyone would, is like, all right, let's swerve this shit in the other lane. Well, there's an F-250 in the other lane, so that was out of the cards. And I was already calculating so much that there was no other decision in my mind. Like, granted, Garrett was behind me. He made the great call to like ride the shoulder of the road where there was like a strip of pavement with just a little gravel. Like he got out, but I just had to fucking like swallow like my fucking whole pride and be like, I'm eating it right now. And just like blasted into the road patch at full speed. No shirt on. So my fucking trucks and wheels caught the gravel, fishtailed as I knew it would, and did like a whole fucking like turtle shell slide on my back. Hit my head too. Definitely got a concussion, but lost my whole back on that one. And Madeline was in my like 2000 Honda Civic behind Phil. So she pulls over, everyone pulls over, and it sobered me up quick. But I just like insisted on driving home with my back just bleeding. There's like fucking asphalt in my back and shit. I was like, let me just fucking drive. I'm like cussing the way home. Super bummed because it was like, it was one of those things where it's like, it wasn't really my fault, but like, fuck, got fucked. We get back to the castle, and I think we started out with just taking a shot. I was like, all right, just
good place to start.
Get the liquor out, take a shot, and took some photos of the back and whatnot just to document it because it was like angel wings.
It was his whole back.
It was like my whole back for sure.
Some serious real estate gone.
Yeah, it was the whole back. But anyways, like the moral of the story is like, shout the fuck out to Madeline because she absolutely saved me, saved my back, saved the scarring. I mean, without her, like, I like stripped down, got in the shower. I'm like biting a wet rag and she's just scrubbing like gravel out of my back, like in the shower. Like she's getting soaked. Like she's just doing the Lord's work. And so I'm like beyond grateful for that. But then like, definitely warranted like an ER or a urgent care visit. But I was just like, let's not do that shit. So we go to CVS and I spent like $90 on supplies. And I'm like, that's cheaper than going to, one of the other options. And Madeline's essentially a fucking like healthcare professional. So she's like, she's done this before too. This ain't her first rodeo. She patches me up. I mean, we went through the whole 9 yards, cleaning, disinfecting, laid it up with like, all the shit. And I had to lay on my stomach for 2 weeks. sleep on my stomach. It was actually really gross. One night I like flip over in my sleep and my back's like stuck to the sheets and there's like blood and pus all over it.
Bit of a Superman scenario.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was that story. I don't really love like recalling that, but it definitely was one of those things where it's like, dude, this shit's all out of your control. Like it doesn't matter if you're gonna fuck up or not. Like something out, like everything else is a liability in downhill. Other cars, road features, gravel. I mean, you can do your job, but it's still rolling the dice.
The external things that can take you out. I mean, especially if you didn't drive up the road or didn't see it beforehand. How would you know?
Absolutely. And that like shifted my perspective for a little bit. I was like a little sussed out on that. I was like, man, fuck blind drops. Like I blind dropped like a million things since that, but it is important, if you can. It made no sense for us to drive up it because we were coming down it and we had a whole day and the sun was setting and we are like, let's just get a rip and go home. But that's the price you pay, for a little bit of adrenaline.
What about, you got any advice for the PUDs out there?
The PUDs.
Second question.
The PUDs, bro. I think the PUD, that term, I think Madeline kind of like put that out in the ether. Like she started saying PUD at some point and it just like stuck. Like you're being a PUD, like you're a PUD. So I fuck with that. But honestly, dude, like this might sound like this sounds like some military shit, like some bullshit, but it's like, you need to learn how to sacrifice for your friends. Like I think in downhill, like obviously there's the like analogy of like, you're sacrificing like your body to the mountains, like all the damage done and this, that, and another is like, that's the price you pay. But I mean, sacrifice in the sense of like, just like remove the ego a little. It's like, when I think common courtesy is like, you get to a fucking hill that maybe you've skated 20 times. It's like your buddy hasn't. Just sacrifice this run. Let him have a good time. Show him a good time, like sacrifice you like dosing up to like make someone's else like experience a little better. I think that's like my biggest advice because I think then that shit like works for everyone and everyone has a little bit of that, like comes full circle, like just sacrifice a little bit of like, your enjoyment, not like fully or anything, but it's like, do what needs to be done so everyone has a good time.
Yeah, a little goes a long way if you're skating with someone like you said that hasn't hit a road or something, or maybe just shuttling or being of service if you can. That's great advice, I think the third question we kind of already touched on a little bit with Phil's question, but I think she was saying what lights your fire with downhill.
Yeah, I mean, man, I think like what really like gets me going is like seeing other people hype other people up. Like I just love when someone's like, someone trying to showcase someone else's shit, like, whether it's media making or just spotting a corner, like, helping them with their setup. Like I just love when someone else is like trying to make the experience like more enjoyable for someone. But I think that's that. Like I think what keeps me going is just like the desire to like help each other and stoke each other out, which is like cliche, but it's like that's the best part, man. Like when you have people looking out for you, that's probably what keeps me going. Definitely the like lifelong friendships keeps me going. It's like I'm be around these people forever. So like, make a good time, have a good time. But people like Madeline too, that's what keeps me going. People that aren't like standing on a board, going down a mountain, but like absorb and share the stoke and the passion that is like involved in this, because it's so much more than skating. Like, and we all know that, but I think that's what keeps me going is just like the kind of the lifestyle and the family, aspects of downhill is like, it's so much more than just like, standing on a board.
It's all that time in between.
But also like, it's just so cool to see in the community where it's like you have so many people from like so many different places, walks of life, experience and whatnot, that you have all the resources at your fingertips. Any sort of skill or trade or advice or wisdom or insight you need is like in your friend group. And I think that's what keeps me going, because it's like I'm fulfilled. Like I have like people I can rely on, people that I can help, people that can help me, It's a big, collection of just like awesome shit, awesome talent, awesome personalities. I think personalities, I'm rambling now, but personalities keep me going.
No,
man.
we can hop into that because there's a lot of personality in the downhill community, and that's something that has definitely attracted me to it from the beginning, because we all kind of, something about it made us want to like do this and pursue it farther. And there's a lot of individuality, and it's cool to see how people connect with each other, and everyone is just such an individual.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely have like so many characters and so many different personalities that like, also what's cool in downhill is like, we know each other through the internet. A lot of us and our like associates like kind of know each other through the internet and may have, not met before, but when you do, you hit it off, you have a lot to talk about. And then, you might go years without seeing someone and you just pick up where you left off and you have so much to talk about. And it's usually you like reconnect with someone and, you might talk about skating, but you're talking about their life, their relationship, their fucking dog, what have they been cooking? Like, it's just like, there's just so much to connect on. And I think that's what's awesome, like you're just getting a glimpse into everyone's lives. Because like when you're so deep into downhill, like you've obviously made intentional decisions to kind of curate a lifestyle that allows for skating, traveling, bullshitting. And so there's a lot of substance to talk about and absorb when you talk to someone about like, all right, what's been going on with you that led you to be able to be at Tepe or come to this event or GRC, whatever. It's like you've made a lot of decisions to intentionally bring yourself here. And that's what's fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's, as you get older too, you kind of got to pick who you're going to spend your time with and like curating who you're going to be around. And, I think this downhill thing is definitely the people that we're around. It's worth it.
Absolutely. And I mean, like kind of on the flip side of that too, like any like little sub community or microcosm you're in, like you're going to have your fucking oddballs, right? Like this has been said over the years, but it still rings true. It's like, just because we're on the hill together doesn't mean we have to like get along or be buddy buddy. And that's true too. Like it's super important to be like intentional who you spend your time around, but like we're also in something so niche, so tight, so core that a lot of the times you don't have a fucking choice. And I think that is what has made me try to keep a pretty good terms with a lot of people, right? Like definitely have some beef and a little bit of I'm unflattered with how some people carry themselves, but I try to not let that consume me and also recognize that that's probably here to stay and I'm not going to do much about that. So
yeah, that's just life too. And I
lead by example or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever,
And I feel like that, I feel that too. I feel like it's fewer than far between, and it's like, you don't have to like someone to respect them too. Like for certain things, it's cool that we're all kind of doing the same things and, it is what it is.
Absolutely.
I wanted to, cause we were kind of talking about Boone while we're on the subject, wanted to run Mount Jefferson by you because were an integral part of putting on that event, and you're a free rider. You don't race, but you're still out here putting on a race for other people to enjoy. And yeah, how was Mount Jefferson and planning that
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually got like, I was on the tail end of that. Like everyone else, kind of took the torch with, especially Mount Jefferson, 2015, the first annual, sanctioned event that NCDH put on. Major ups to the crew that was putting that together: Bailey Weinkoff, Phil Baldwin, Suze, Madison, Eric, and any other hands that were involved. I actually showed up to the event. I didn't really do any planning that year or anything. I showed up to shoot photos, and as you know, it was a fucking piss storm of rain. So I remember standing on the fucking middle big left at one point. There's no one there. It was just me, just me with an umbrella and a camera. So that was, such a phenomenal landmark, but it obviously snowballed into 5 annual events. And, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I'm a free rider. I'm not built for racing. I left the competitive mindset in sports when I was young. I left that on the base side. And, but that's always been the mission of NCDH, right? Is building the community through whatever tools, resources, events you can do. And that shit stokes me out because we now have an event that we can free ride, that we can race, that we can all catch up at. So I'm a big proponent of, anything in that nature. I really don't fuck with the super rigid, I don't fuck with racing or tiny boards or this, that, and another. It's yes, to each its own, but at the same time, we're meeting up to hang out and do what we do, right? Have some respect for everyone's approach. And that's what I love to see at events. I mean, you just have a little bit of everything. And, so it's good to organize an event and bring people together, skate a little, do some filming, manage some shit here and there. And it was a great time, 5 years of it. Shout out to everyone involved and State Park, Rangers, Joe Schimmel. What an amazing guy,
Oh, yeah.
What an absolute legend.
Is Jefferson ever going to come back?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of pinpoint that on me. And I'm you got to ask.
This ain't on me, boss.
Yeah, this ain't on me, boss. You really have to have a team to do something like that. And we talked on earlier, people, priorities change. People have different jobs or move or have families or yada, 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 have injuries. And, without a team, you can't pull something off like that. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to give a solid answer, but it's at the end of the day, Jefferson worked so well as a well-oiled machine because we all lived 30 minutes away from the state park.
Yeah,
and we were all in college.
Most of y'all don't live there anymore.
And none of us live there anymore. So take what you want from that, but also enjoy the East Coast circuit and events we have right now. Shout out Khalil, absolutely crushing it. Wood Booger, Outlaws, Will Royce is doing a phenomenal job with Outlaws. It's yes, we would all love Jefferson back. And times change and, it's not out of the cards, but it's let's look at the reality of what's going on.
We got some new roads popping up this year, so, we don't have Jefferson, but I feel like we're coming up in other areas, so.
Absolutely. And I mean, there was a time, it was pretty fucking blatant and obvious, right? We did 2019 Jefferson, and then COVID hit. And then for any sort of event, that's putting you years back, let alone we all move out of Boone. And then the state park goes under new management. Our main kingpin contact gets promoted and leaves the park. We're now the combination of those factors is let's not try to grill anyone about why is this event where it's at, because it's look at what has happened.
It just takes
the
such
stars,
an
the stars
enormous
aligned.
amount of effort, too.
Yeah, it's crazy effort. I'd tell people that too. It's it's an unpaid part-time job for 8 months. So
yep.
Really, it's just check yourself if you're going to come at someone's neck for not doing something. It's this is volunteer passion project.
Oh, big time.
So, but I want to highlight that people are seriously carrying the torch, and I'm so excited for all the events this year and where it's all going. And I will say on end note of that is it's really nice to show up to events and not organize them and just have
enjoy
fun
it.
and just enjoy it. I'm I actually fucking love that. That works so well for me now. So shout out to y'all throwing events. I will be there.
I will also be there in support. I've dabbled in my earlier years with throwing events, big events and just Outlaws. And it's so much work. If you want an event to happen, just an extra set of hands goes a long way. And,
yeah,
dream big too, because it can happen. All you got to do is just have the motivation and have a good squad with you that has the same thoughts and wants to put in the time. So,
yeah,
we need you too. If you don't do it, no one else is, because this downhill shit there's no one else out there doing it but us.
And the Southeast and the East Coast right now, we're inching towards having a sanctioned event every 2 months. We're getting close to 6 sick events per year. And it's that's the sweet spot, right? Like you're not going to have a sanctioned event every month, and you have winter, and you have this, that, and another. But I mean, we're inching towards like stacked annual calendar. You know, between the sanctioned events and the free rides and outlaws, it's like shit is popping.
I mean, there's next weekend 2 outlaws going on, and
absolutely. I mean, you name it. From here on out, it's going.
Like the season is about to be firing.
Absolutely. So shout out to all the event organizers. I'm glad that I'm an attendee now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
At the very least, support your local events if they're feasible to get to you. Like,
absolutely.
Pay that entry fee, have a good time, because that's the best way to support an event if you're not already organizing. Is just be a participant. So,
there we go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Jefferson a little bit. We got a book here, photo book. What's going on with this? What do we got going on?
It's been in a dormant hibernation. I made that photo book in 2018 for a college project. It was actually like my senior project. So I compiled like everything that I shot from 2013 to 2018 and made like a hardcover book, obviously. And that's just a prototype. I've always said I want to update it and put it out for the public as like a coffee table style book. But like, that's something I've always struggled with, is like drawing the line on a project, you know, being like, this is version 1. This is where I'm going to draw the line. And I mean, it's been in dormancy for a while, but I would love to update it with what I have shot since moving back to Asheville 2019. So that's something like on the docket this year. I've been talking about it for a while, but probably a personal project that I'm going to follow through with this year, because the way I see it is I'd love to like put this out and start working on the next one. But at this point, it'll probably be like 9-10 years of photo documentary work. And a lot of my work is unreleased. Like a lot of the work I'd be putting in, and a lot of the work in the book currently is unreleased. Like I just won't give it to Instagram. I won't give it to the internet, you know? So
some of the best shots ever taken are just sitting on a hard drive somewhere.
Absolutely. And Phil Baldwin has a lot of them too. I mean, we have a ton of
Phil, if you're listening, you have so much stuff. I know you have stuff of me that never got released.
Yeah. Phil Baldwin has an incredible archive. And that's something else. We're going to do a print release this year, me and Phil. Going to release some prints, some framed images as well. So be on the lookout for that. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's like priorities do change, you know? I work a fucking day job and I get off work and the last thing I want to do is get into InDesign and Lightroom and fucking start working again. So I do need to carve out time for that. And I feel like, you know, we're still young. There's a lot of time, but I would like to like put out a print project, and I'm super stoked on Obsidian. Shout out Obsidian and Skylar for putting in the work on bringing a little bit of print back into our lives. I think it's super awesome, stokes people out, and it's a feel good thing. You know, you can put your work in someone's hands, into someone's home, not just on a social media thread that gets lost in the ether. And that's why I've held out so long. I know there's a time to draw the line and like put the shit to print, but it's just making big decisions and drawing a line, which it's kind of tough for me sometimes. So,
well, if it comes out, you know, I'll send you my credit card information, because I'm gonna need to cop one of those for sure.
Include your social security and your mother's maiden name
I'll
too.
Give everything to you for it.
Yeah.
No, the physical medium is, I think it's gonna make a comeback. I think we're all a little bit sick of Instagram, and you see something in the feed and it's gone.
It's gone.
You see it for maybe a day and then you're like, things are just hard to find too.
I mean, that's why like when Skate House, you know, went offline, that was a huge shift in downhill culture and camaraderie over the internet, over the new videos, the place, the hub, the archive to find them. I mean, you know, not trying to go too far down this rabbit hole, but NCDH was curated kind of in parallel with Skate House. Like we literally chose Vimeo as our platform because of Skate House and the embed quality and yada, yada, yada. And that's a whole nother story, of course. Like, you know, we missed the YouTube train, and we started a YouTube like 5-6 years in to like archive our stuff. But, you know, we it was all skate house, man. It was like, let's get the shit, on the front page on Vimeo. And that was our approach. But I do agree that we're suffering from a lack of centralization in terms of where we get our media. Like, Facebook's insufferable. Like, it's just a boomer platform. Instagram is a endless thread of shit that gets lost in the ether. And I mean, times have changed too. Like, we're fully in vertical video. Like, as a photographer and filmmaker, you're just like, oh my God, like,
you have to put out vertical.
These platforms have like changed the way that people's approach in media making, and we're all culprits of it. And the algorithm is kind of like the carrot in front of a lot of the content that's being made. But that it's here to stay. We're not going to debunk that and change that right now. So
I mean, the NCDH YouTube is just, the archive is just so badass.
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty
if
deep.
you're not subscribed to that, just check it out. It's a lot of stuff that was on Vimeo, so it's like some of these things only have like 200 views.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're like,
for sure.
This video popped off on Vimeo though, like 7 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny to see how that panned out. But yeah, man, I just never been like a fucking YouTuber. Definitely not a vlogger. Like, this is even hard for me to talk in front of a camera and like hear my own voice. Like, I think that is something going into this. I was like, fuck, I gotta listen to my own voice. You know how weird that is when you hear your own voice? You've probably got like desensitized to it, but I'm like, bro, I sound like my nose is stuffy. I'm like raspy. Like, I sound fucking annoying.
No one likes the sound of their own voice. I'm telling you, you're not alone.
But with that being said, like, I just personally like don't have the mindset of like monetizing a YouTube channel, because you have to kind of conform in a sense, like how you put out your content, the tools and the tricks you use. I mean, people love talking faces, vlogging. It's just like, that's just not my bread and butter. But I have a lot of respect for people who have done it well. And RIP Josh Newman, he did it the best,
He really did. He had the code cracked.
Yeah.
And there's so much we could have learned from him if he was still with us, but he made his mark though.
Definitely
regardless,
made his mark. Absolutely.
Maybe the most popular downhill skater YouTuber all time. Maybe I don't think
history.
anyone can touch.
Yeah. No, dude, that's the guy. It's funny, man. I tell people this shit, like, no one really knows this, but Josh Newman was the first person to put cash in me and Phil Baldwin's hands in like 2015 for downhill media. Like, it was like a year into NCDH, and Josh is obviously like 15 years old or something. And he's amped, man. He had the vision since he was young. He knew what he wanted to do, and he knew that he had to use his resources and his tools. And he was a great listener and learner. Like, he was great about like, learning and listening and then taking it and just fucking running with it. And that's what he did. And that was what was so astonishing. But I mean, back to what I was saying is like, he literally was like, I really respect you guys' work, and I'd love to like bring you some money. I want like a few roads filmed. And we went and did it. And I was just crazy. I mean, young kid throwing us some bones for our work, and there's like big brands that are trying to like cut costs and like steal media. It's like, what a fucking funny thing.
Yeah, man. He was about it.
Absolutely.
You got a shirt. NCDH has a shirt coming out, correct?
Yeah.
By the time this episode comes out, it'll probably already be released.
Or
I guess it's releasing it tonight in real time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We got a super like special project for us. Kind of throwing it back to our roots. It's a shirt featuring Will Seal, who is a legendary East Coast skater, rock climber, artist, you name it. Lives in Colorado now, but was really at the kind of the birth of the DC scene in a sense. Was scoping Northern Virginia, hanging out with Skate House, Matt K, touring up and down the East Coast, but made Boone his home at App State, and really kind of got in the works with local apparel. And Phil Baldwin, Bailey, like you name it, all those boys. And also one of the most stylish skaters I've ever seen. Goofy rider, just makes it look effortless. So we wanted to throw it back for like 10 years NCDH. Like we're going to put Will C on the shirt. It's a 35 millimeter film photo from Phil Baldwin. He was actually on board when he shot it, but you've probably seen the photo, but it's Will looking back in tuck. And at the time, it should have been a magazine cover. I think Wheelbase wanted it to use it as a magazine cover when they saw it like years later, but just absolutely phenomenal photo. So we put it into print. And yeah, just kind of like working off that legacy brand kind of vibe where it's like we're just trying to do something, you know, for the books, not because it's like the hottest new shit. Like this photo's 10 years old.
Oh no, it's super badass photo. Like I'm gonna hopefully be able to cop one if they don't sell out. But you know, I'm sure I'll be able to snag one.
Yeah, you'll be able to snag one.
I wanted to kind of get into. I usually do like setup spotlights, but you know, since you're a filmer, I kind of wanted to nerd out on film gear for a little bit and maybe some tips if you have any for someone that's looking to film downhill.
Totally. Yeah.
So what are you running? What's your setup right now?
Well, I'll go back to the start of like, you know, I started on like, you know, like a lot of people did. I think one of my first DSLR was like a Rebel T3i, a little Canon, super classic camera, and eventually like realized like I got to get the full frame, got to get a wide angle lens, you know, and moved to the Canon 6D with the Rokinon like 14 millimeter, which is like a nice sweet spot, right? Like you don't want to get too deep into fisheyes with downhill. You can pull out an 8 millimeter and make a 30-mile-an-hour road look like 60, and that's cool and it has its place. But I kind of always like that little bit more realistic perspective, not putting it like under the bumper, but more on the front hood or front of the car, and having like a pretty relatively realistic gauge of speed. So I was on like that Canon for like 6 years, and that was great. But then like the mirrorless cameras entered the market probably 2016, 2017. We started seeing more of them, and I got my first mirrorless camera, which I'm still running. It's a Sony A7 III. I got that in like 2017. And so, I mean, Canon, Nikon, and Sony all have a mirrorless line now. It's like really whatever you enjoy in terms of like your color science. Like I love the Canon colors. Like that's been my biggest like gripe with Sony is like the greens and the blues are a little strange. Canon's colors are great. Nikon too. But yeah, I mean, really at the end of the day is like getting into like filming skateboarding. I mean, you really kind of want to identify like what you're going for off the bat. Like if you're just trying to film follow runs and you're never gonna be on the side of the road with a tripod or a gimbal, which costs more money, it's like, you know, you should get a body and a variable wide angle lens or something, and a nice microphone. Like there's no reason to like buy shit you don't need. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you really just want to focus on your dynamic range. Like we're skating these roads that have shadows, tree coverage. And so prior to mirrorless cameras, you know, people, myself included, were shooting on these DSLRs, and the shit coming out of the camera is kind of muddy. It's already contrasted. It's already saturated. And there's only so much you can do with that. But we're in the day and age now, you shoot a fucking log, like, you know, style, you know, camera setting on these mirrorless cameras, and you're getting full dynamic range. It's coming out looking gray. It looks like shit, but that's where you go into the studio and give it life. So I guess my only tip for anyone like getting into it is like, just kind of dig a little deeper off the rip, like understand how to make a good exposure, focus on your audio, and then just like really make a point to shoot stuff flat, neutral, high dynamic range, and give it life in post-production. Because like the worst thing is when you're watching like a run or something and it's just like blown the fuck out. No information. It's just a buzzkill.
Especially filming in North Carolina, it's like the green tunnel effect.
Oh, yeah.
You're in perfect sunlight, and then you go through a corner and it's dark. And then you come back out and it's like just blows out.
100%. And you gotta like work with your ND filters and your auto ISO, and it really just takes experimenting. And I mean, I'm still doing that. I'm still experimenting and learning every day. So not much to say there other than like experiment. And you know, if you're like, you know, if you're just getting into filming this, that, and another, like go out for a day and do some test runs. Put the camera on a car and drive a road and see what the light and your settings look like. You don't have to be filming anyone. Like just go experience. experiment, you know. But I don't know. I got big into the gimbals. Like I built like a small gimbal when I was young, just like try to make a weighted, like kind of offset gimbal off YouTube, like to counterbalance my camera. And I made like those PVC pipes, camera sliders and shit like that. And I think that stuff goes a long way. Like you don't got to spend a shit ton of money like on things. Like, you know, you can make do, but if you're like just like getting into it, like follow filming is probably not the first thing you're going to do. So focus on like good composition, good audio. And if you're on the side of the road, you know, working with your tripod or gimbal. But
I like those side shots. I like, well, even like in Cam's video, just looking at a corner and saying like, how can I make this corner look like the way I'm seeing it with my eyes? Like,
correct, yeah.
It's cool to see the steepness of a corner, or, you know, maybe hiking up into a spot or trudging through some poison ivy to get a shot.
Oh yeah,
you know,
dude. Absolutely.
You know, it might be worth it. So, yeah, I wanted to also run by you. Been asking people this, your ultimate road build out. If you had to, you know, figuratively smash some roads together to make your ultimate run, what would that look like for you?
Fuck, dude. I thought about this a little when people were talking about that recently. I would definitely do surf spot into something. I feel like starting like in the woods and like a very like small narrow road that's super gnarly. I think I would do surf spot into like some big like stacked hairpins, and I'm trying to think what that road would be. But I think that kind of like dicey gnarliness coming out of the woods into something more wide open or something would be super sick.
I mean, surf spot's a good place to start
Yeah.
for sure, or end
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think I would connect surf spot with like, fuck, dude, what would I do?
I've always liked the idea of like if you were to make the ultimate road, like something that progressively hurts your wheels even more and more. So by the time you get to the bottom, instead of being the other way around.
Correct. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like you want something that's like gonna dump them at the end. You don't want to come out of your top section with like flat spots or fucked up wheels. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to chew on that. Definitely a huge fan of surf spot. And then I don't know what I'd take that into. I mean, even if I don't know.
Just surf spot times 2.
Yeah,
just double it up.
I just stack surf spot, dude. Who gives a fuck?
Also, let's talk ultimate downhill skater build out. So if you're going to take existing skaters' skills and mash them into like this like ultimate cyborg like human.
Correct.
Whose toe sides you taking?
Oh fuck. I mean, Booby for sure. The thing is this convo's like, it's funny because it's like Chase Hiller already exists, you know? Like, it's really just like giving Chase like the switch capabilities of someone else, and then you're done. Like you have survival skating, pro racer. His style's evolved to like another level. It's like just give Chase some good switch skating and some switch toes and whatnot, and it's a wrap. Like he already exists.
I like that. I
don't really know if I could build more, like, you know, but Booby's already there. I don't know. I'm trying to think though. I think like we're really missing like the Eric Jensen's. Like I go back to that too. I'm like, dude, we don't.
The like all terrain.
Eric and Byron. It's like that's what the current downhill builds are missing. You know, it's like, where's that shit? We have great free riders, we have great racers, and we have people that can do both. But it's like you ain't ollieing off a roof, you ain't hitting a handrail, like. And that's what I've always kind of stuck towards is like I just love it all. And I think Jared Henry's another great example. Even Matt Kay too. It's like, you know, you get a little bit of everything. So I would say that kind of those more roots builds are what I go back to. Like we have some crazy shit now, but like Eric Jensen, dude, that's the dude.
Great answer. I like that simplification. So I'm not even going to go through the other ones, but I will ask, what about partying skills?
Oh,
Whose partying skills you taking?
Oh shit! Like, do I like envy or like who's just like carrying the torch?
Whatever way you want to. I don't know. Do you envy someone's partying skills?
No, dude. I'm like nervous of how some people like do it. I think I go hard, and then I'm like, oh fuck, dude. You ever met Teaj?
Oh my gosh.
Like, partying skills, man. Shit, I don't know. I almost am like, I kind of like that. Like, I kind of respect like the moderate, where it's like they're gonna have a good time, but they're also gonna get up and skate hard, right? Like, I think you're getting into dicey territory when you're like winning the party, but then like crashing in the right every run.
Crash and burn.
Yeah. But I fucking love Jack Trainer at the party, dude. Like when the Wizard staff comes out, it's like, that's a great night. That's phenomenal. I mean, Danny, he holds down the party's shit. That keg stand to immediately throwing up at the ranch was badass. I like that a lot.
Love to see it.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can kind of lay it down at the party sometimes too, for sure.
You can.
I wobble home or fall in a bush, but I'm still doing it. Dude, sometimes you get like the most hurt when you're partying, not even skating.
Oh, big time.
You get fucked up.
Yeah, make it through the weekend unscathed, and then like
Just brick it.
fall into a
yeah.
table or something.
Absolutely, dude. That's classic. But yeah, I think seeing Danger Dane at Tepe was like next level party mode. Like,
Oh my gosh.
that was unbelievable. Just like
Dude is the
WWE the table, like fucking junk out. Everyone's wiling out. That was pretty. I think he tried to eat a frog or some shit.
Comes into town, gets the fastest quality time, destroys the table.
Destroys the table. It's like that's what I respect. Like
You don't
work
see that
hard,
as
play
much,
hard.
you know?
You don't. Like these premier racers, like they're at the party, like chilling, and that's respect too. But like when you have someone just like both sides of the coin, that's like you're fucking badass. Like you won the party and the race. Like that's wild.
It's it's a spectacle, and you don't see it as much, but when you do see it, you gotta respect it.
Absolutely, dude.
Who would you say is your favorite skater / filmer?
Oh fuck.
That's doing both, kind of, because I put you in that category big time.
Yeah. I mean, I did just, chill with Spud a lot in Puerto Rico, and I have the utmost respect for him. I mean, Spud has been going hard for years, but I mean, you put Spud on a board and he's just absolutely nuts. Always loved Tom's shit, all the caliber stuff, and kind of got to give it to Tom for being like the sickest skater filmer in the game. Like, just gonna give credit where credit is due, but I mean, people also sleep on Matt K. Like, gotta give it to Matt K. I mean, the onboard stuff at the speed and technicalities of what he's doing. I mean, you saw the Red Bull documentary. He's carrying a glide cam, 55 miles an hour down a hill. I mean, it's like that's next level, dude. There's very few people in the world that can do that. So I'm gonna give it to Tom and Matt K for sure, but credit where credit is due. Tom is the sickest skater filmer in the game.
Great picks.
Yeah. And
Great
shout out
picks.
to Matt K too, because just unbelievable.
Yeah, we gotta get him down here. I haven't seen him in a while. So.
Absolutely.
Let's talk what's setup you rocking? What are you riding these days?
Well, got back on a single kick. I'm on the new Comet Ethos, and it feels really good. It's actually like everything I've ever wanted in a board. Just like simplistic.
What size is it? What length we
It's
talking?
37 and a half. So it's like a nice sweet spot,
Okay.
and it's got like nice taper. And obviously less concave than the old Ethos. The old 38 Ethos, just a little too big for me, little too beefy, too steep a concave. Great board, fucking love it. But the new Ethos right now is like perfect for me, and the tail is incredibly functional, which is, I mean, if you put out a single kick and the tail doesn't work, what are you doing? And we finally have a board that works very well. So
What wheelbase we talking? Do you know?
I think right now my wheelbase is probably like 23 and a half.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look at the specs. But something very, very pretty standard. It's it can hold on the hills and then cruising around. It's a great do-it-all board, and that's like what I look for. That's like my approach and style. But I was on the takeover for a while, and I just missed having a kicktail. So here we are, and I got the K5s, been on those for like 5 years. They're like my favorite truck. I think I'm going to go a little narrow this year, probably get on like some 150 K6s. I want to like kind of get down to 150 and just leave it there. But riding like 168 Sims, got the like yellow and the perps from Venom. And then really just whatever wheels I can get my hands on these days. It's kind of been a drought for me, but I'm always riding Powell, and skated some Otang recently, which I kind of slept on. Otang got some fire.
Dude, Otang got some good. What were you riding? The Fat Freeze?
Rode the Fat Freeze a little on rooftop. That was perfect. But the new Protos, they're like around, kind of like, they're durable as a snake. It feels like, I want to say they're like probably 71 millimeter. They're phenomenal wheels. Really love that. But yeah, I'm always on Powell. I'm riding the perps. And the Byrons are like the sickest wheel ever. If they didn't like, kind of angle grind, flat spot, second slide, that wheel is too good. But it's just that kind of skinny contact patch doesn't do much justice,
I mean, that's a fire setup. You've been riding Comets since I've known you.
Yeah, it's been my MO. I just like simplicity, and it's always worked for me. I love Comet as a brand, and Arlo, OG Comet artwork and graphics and art direction has just been phenomenal. So good things to say there, but go check out that ethos if you want like a functional single kick. It is the shit. Super good. Fire
setup. Who do you think's got the worst setup? What's the worst setup you think comes to mind?
Damn.
Who's just riding some trash?
I mean, I wouldn't even say it's like the gear's the problem, but like Tyler Hunt never looks comfortable on a setup ever. Like legit, like sickest skater, and just like absolutely like fucking tipping and wobbling and sketchy shit. But I mean, the worst setup was Madison Crum's setup last fall, like coming back to the game off the couch. God. I mean, I don't even know what that was, but that was the worst setup I've seen in a while. Shout out to Madison. He ain't been doing his research, but I get it. I mean, but like when he was on the Master Blaster and shit, it was like that was the best setup. Like had that shit dialed. So I mean, I think it like gear changes so much, and it's like it's hard for people to like buy some new shit and figure it out when you're used to something. That's why I kind of like I find what I like and I stick to it.
Dude, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I've rode the K5s for 5 or 6 years. Chill, top mounts and like a nice wheel. Like I don't need to complicate it.
Yeah. Can also have multiple setups, dude. That's something that I didn't mess with up until like the last like 3 or 4 years. Like, I can have a few different setups. Like it ain't going to hurt anyone. Like
no, do your thing for sure. I respect that. I have a little quiver. I have a downhill board. I have a double kick, and I have the cruiser, and I just keep that at my car, and I got everything, something for everything.
That's all you need, man.
Yeah.
All right, where we haven't gone yet is Turnt Williams. Is he still alive?
Oh God.
Is that era of Teaj? What's going on? Is he still around?
I think Turnt Williams shows his face from time to time, but that was like definitely pre like frontal lobe development alter ego.
I mean, I saw a picture of you like laying in broken glass from a while back.
Oh yeah, I remember that day.
Memories.
Yeah, we were at like Fox Tits, and I think I was like 19. And like I said earlier, like I used to just do shit to make people laugh because it made me feel good, like about how fucked up like life in the world is like if I can just laugh, then like it'll be good for like 30 seconds. And I remember we were at the bottom of the hill, like a little Brixton event or something, and we had like a 12-pack of like bottles, and like you're killing the bottles and you're putting the empties back in the case. And like I finished the last empty. And so we had like 6 or 7 bottles in the case. And I was just like shock value. Like, hey guys, watch this shit. And just like nailed myself in the head with the fucking like 12-pack of bottles and like smacked myself, laid out, box went down, broken glass everywhere. I was just like out cold for 20 seconds. Like, I don't even know why. There's no like rhyme or reason.
Brain cells gone.
Yeah. It's just like, I didn't get hurt today skating. I should probably fuck myself up.
What about? There was a time you were like skating on acid or something, if I recall.
Damn.
Something happened.
Yeah. Shit. That was 2016 on Shine Run. We were out in Flexington, East Tennessee. And we got comfortable. We all popped a tab at like, I don't know, 2 or 3 p.m. You were there, right?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, we were out in the sticks. We had like a 10 strip or whatever we had, and we all ate a tab like while it was like nice and sunny out, probably 2 p.m. whatever. We're like, this is perfect timing. We're gonna go find this new fucking hill. It was Old Man Jones, and on the way to the fucking hill, dude, we almost fucking died. Madison and Suze are in the front of the rental car. I'm in the back with Garrett, and we're just like cutting down this back road, and Madison is like looking at his phone or doing something, like grabbing a drink or something, and like everyone starts screaming, myself included, because like we're headed like right towards a cliff. Like the road was like gone off the side of the mountain, no guardrail, like it had washed off the mountain. And like last second, Madison like whips the fucking wheel, and we like literally peered over the like ridge, and it was like 100-foot drop. Like would have been the end of us and the skate trip. Probably the end of the downhill scene. Would have been like, oh, 5 dead and a fucking acid fueled car cliff jump. But we made it out of that. Got to Old Man Jones, and I remember that we dropped the hill. I'm towards the back of the pack. James Millette is behind me on his luge. So we dropped that first run, super fun. I'm like peaking, you know, I'm doing good on the psychedelics, and I'm like chilling. We get to the bottom of the run, and I realized that my helmet was unbuckled the whole time. So it kind of freaked me out. We get to the top. I'm like, I triple check. I'm like, all right, I buckled my helmet, right? Well, we drop the next run, make it through all the pins. You're down in like the last, you know, like section of that kind of like flat right kink.
Yeah, it kind of gets a little faster.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's still just like, it's still slow. You know, it's like 25 miles an hour. I'm just soul carving, dude. I'm just like enjoying energy and light. I am energy and light. And I'm just soul carving, like cruising hard. James is behind me again on the luge. I'm carving toe side, back left wheel catches a rock, and the board just flips, and I like windmill to my fucking dome. Like fully like 180 windmill, smack my fucking head on the ground, and everything went white. I couldn't see out of my fucking eyes. So I was like out cold on the ground. James ditches his luge, gets up, runs over to me. I like opened my eyes and everything was still white. Like I had my eyes open and I couldn't see anything. And that's how I knew it was fucking bad. And I remember laying there, and he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just like started like touching my nose and my ears and my eyes. I thought I was bleeding out of every like orifice in my head. And at that moment, that was the near-death experience. Like I rose up out of my body like a fucking drone. I was like looking over the mountains from the sky, and I'd never had an experience like this where I like accepted death, thinking about my mother, my father, my siblings, my friends. And it was this like super fucking hard but impressionable moment where I like cut the cord. I like accepted that I was just going to keep rising.
Best and worst acid trip ever.
Dude, it was fucking unreal. Definitely accepted death and was like, this is it. Because I thought my skull was cracked and my brain was like falling out of my ears and shit. So it like took that acid trip and like exponentially like ramped it up. And
that one hit was like 10.
Yeah. No, I was fucked up. And Phil Baldwin has a good photo of it. I mean, I was fucked up. I had road rash, swellbow, concussion, still tripping. And
it's got to be great for your brain.
Dude, it can't be. But dude, I mean, helmets have saved my life like 6 times now. That was like probably the closest call.
S1?
Dude, that was a 888.
Oh, that's why you got a concussion.
Dude, that fucking 888, dude.
Up.
I retired it after that, obviously, but
the sweat saver.
Dude, that helmet was wild. It was like one of those old 888 full face helmets, and I was on the full face shit when I was younger. I was like, fuck yeah. But yeah, I rock the S1 Lifer half shell now. That's my shit. Great helmet, safe. But yeah, dude, that was one of the gnarliest injuries, and that was like a year after I had one of my other biggest injuries on Ginger Snap in Boone, the A-frame. At the time, super rookie mistake, but I had a double kick set up with some caliber 2s, and I changed the bushings in them, you know, softer bushings. I'm like cruising around on a double kick. And I went to Boone that weekend and I forgot like my downhill bushings. And I just like slapped those trucks on a Comet Farmer, dropped in on Ginger Snap. I don't know if I'd even skated the road before, maybe once or twice, but I dropped in on it. Going through the fast chicane, just like fucking death wobbled and like slid into the guardrail at like 35 with my femur first. Garrett's in the car behind me. He watched all this shit. I hit that guardrail with my femur and like immediately thought I broke my femur. And my dumbass didn't go to fucking the hospital or anything. And by like 10 p.m. that night, our buddies were having a house show, and that's where I was staying that night. My fucking thigh was like 3 times as wide as it normally is. It was like a bubble.
And you're just like partying.
Oh, I took acid.
Wow. This theme keeps happening.
Yeah, it's that was really dumb, but so like I can't even put my toes on the ground. Like any sort of pressure on the foot was like excruciating pain, like through my leg up into like my central nervous system. So I thought I had internal bleeding. And that was so stupid that I didn't go to the hospital. But yeah, I took acid that night. My leg's like fucking a balloon, and then it snowed a foot that night. It was actually like Halloween. So that was like definitely a memorable weekend. But I don't know how I got out clean from that one. That internal bleeding shit's no joke.
So you were fine?
Dude, I mean,
eventually
it took weeks, but I don't know how I got out clean. That was like really bad.
Yeah, maybe it's good that Trent Williams is
Yeah.
hasn't been around too much. Yeah, that reminded me of that time we were driving to Soldiers in my Saturn. You were thinking of Maddie and Suze and
my
you.
God, dude.
We were in, I think, Highway 81.
Yep. Coming around that right in the wet.
In the wet.
Just put it in a ditch.
That could have been the end of us.
I was in the passenger seat and I just like am staring down the fucking ditch and I'm like, I'm waiting for the windshield to cave in and like cut my neck open.
I thought it was going to be so bad. It was chill.
It was so chill. We like zip tied the bumper back with a iPhone cable.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, we're good, right? We just keep going. I think you probably fucked up your alignment on that one.
Oh, yeah. Something. That was just the beginning of that car's like downfall, you know. Shout out to General Motors making the Saturn Ion. Great vehicle just to put in a grave doing downhill skateboarding shenanigans.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that was a fun trip.
That could have been it. That could have ruined Soldiers forever.
Dude, we've had so many close calls. It's pretty wild. We're still here just talking about them. I mean, all of our friends though combined. It's like we have hundreds of close calls.
Dude, the close calls just not even being on the board is what's crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's like not even skating.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, man, what's the rest of your year looking like? You got any plans coming up for skateboarding or just in general? I know you're living with your partner right now and kind of doing Teaj things.
Yeah, moved in with Carrie May of last year. We got really lucky on a rental. The rental market here is torched, obviously, but got super lucky on a house to rent, and it's beautiful. It's really nice to have like our own space and our own privacy, but also like a good spot to like have events and parties and people over for fires and cookouts and whatnot. I don't know, really always trying to maximize the car camping this year, you know, always trying to get out and car camp and have fun. I love camping. I love cooking over a fire. And then obviously the East Coast events, but I think the next thing on the docket right now is to sit down with a crew that I have in mind and kind of flesh out the pitch deck, trying to like find some funding outside of downhill for once. Like I think it's time, right? It's like I feel like at some point you kind of like crest like what your capabilities and your routine is, and I feel like I've done that for years, but I'm like I want to put what we've made into like a pitch deck and get some funding and support. You know, obviously it's not going to be like some feature length like movie or anything, and doing a full length downhill film is on my list probably in my early 30s in a few years, but I'd kind of like to start with having some of these bigger brands that parallel the downhill industry like throwing us a chunk of change, go make some media, you know, photo, video, write up, you know. Obviously you're on the mix with the audio, so
let's go.
That's kind of like what I want to like put a little bit of time into this year, you know, do something different, but put it on someone else's dollar, you know?
Oh yeah. 'Cause I mean, if you're a company out there, you want to invest in some people that, you know, their ROI might not be much of anything, but hey,
Yeah, I mean, it's
here's your guy right here.
yeah. The ROI conversation is going to be interesting because it's like, I don't know how much, you know, marketing value our projects will bring you, other than like, it's more of like a legacy thing. It's like you have something different, like, you know, in your wheelhouse, and I think we can make it work. You know, it's going to be getting told no a lot, but I think if we do enough pre-planning and design and delivery is right, we can get some funding.
Yeah, I think things will come to fruition. It's kind of starts like with you said, getting a pitch deck and just talking to the right people. So if you're out there listening and you want to invest, holler at me. Holler at 35 or
kind of on that note. Another thing we're gonna do soon is like, we decided this in Puerto Rico, is like we want to get the quote of like the gator skins, kind of like the skate light style gator skins for the mini ramp out at the skate estate, and we're gonna like chop up a GoFundMe on NCDH and really get that funded to finish out that mini ramp. Try to get some good weatherproof, you know, gator skins, throw it on it, have that shit good. So it's like super clean and durable and can last, because they got that mini ramp, you know, 3, 4, 5 months ago from the old skate park, and I'd really like to see that thing become a staple, you know, go have our little grill outs and skate the mini. But yeah, we want to run a GoFundMe up through NCDH, because that's kind of like, that's the tool NCDH is right now. It's a platform, you know, it's a platform to grow the community, but also use the platform to like, you know, get the word out, highlight, whatever. Like, I think it's a good thing we can do, and probably get that quote soon and then run up that GoFundMe. So make sure to donate.
Yeah, I'll post a link somewhere whenever this episode comes out. But yeah, man. Do you got any thank yous or any thoughts you'd like to add?
Yeah.
Before we wrap, what do you got?
Shout out Miller Lite. Thank you so much for supporting me through all of my endeavors.
Shout out Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Miller Killer in the house.
We fuck with Miller. Super big shout out to Phil Baldwin. Gotta put that name out there. If you're skating in NC and you don't know that name, like do some research. Absolute beast of an artist, photographer. Really has a great vision, and I know he's gonna be hyped on this episode, and we'll get him on here one day.
Yeah, we'll be getting Phil on here. He's on the master list from the get-go. So
but I mean, shout out everyone. I fuck with y'all, and shout out my beautiful partner Carrie. She's super supportive, and it's really cool to see, like, you know, just her response, as well as other people that like are associated with the downhill community, that they're just like, there's so much more than skating, and it's like, it's just been really great the past 2 years of being together, like, you know, going to events and camping and, you know, having all the friends get together and build relationships. So that's been really cool. Shout out to, you know, anyone out there skating, anyone out there doing it for the squad. Shout out my parents. Love y'all. It's hard for my mom to watch downhill videos. Maybe she'll listen to this, maybe not, but my dad's hyped on it. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's hard to like name drop, because it's like, thank you to everyone for all you've done. But want to just keep pushing, hang around, have a good time, be safe, you know, be a little ratchet, be a little dangerous.
Some good wisdom right there. Well, I tell you what, Teaj, it's a pleasure having you on. And I know me, as everyone else, appreciates all that you've done for the scene. And, you know, I'm excited for this year and to see what's the next adventure we'll be going on.
Absolutely, man. I've had a blast here. This was really nice, and what a great day for it, too.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful day. Well, for those listening, appreciate you coming in and taking time out of your day to listen to us talk shit for like 2 hours. So
Hell yeah, we got it done.
It's over and out from 35 All Grip.
Hell yeah, signing off. Love y'all.